Okay, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Beef Brunch news update on Monday, October 26th. I'm Ashley Edwards, and with me today is Jason Holmes. Our counterparts, Vince Desatel and Lee Falk, could not join us this week, so Jason and I are kind of flying on our own. We just wanted to bring you some short updates on what's going on, mostly in terms of weather and field updates throughout the state, as well as the markets and a few events that we have coming up in the next month or so. So Jason, I'm going to let you go ahead and start us off with what the weather and field conditions are looking like here in North Louisiana.
Right. Thank you, Ashley. I'm glad to be with y'all today and give y'all a little bit of update of what we're seeing. So I spent most of the day, Friday the 23rd, over in the northeast part of the state, starting from Farmerville all the way over towards Delhi. And that's where most of the rain that we saw from Hurricane Delta came up through that part of the state. We saw some pretty high rain amounts, but it was very optimistic. Some of the precision ag leveled fields, I saw a lot of those guys back out doing some field work, but even in some of the pastures I was in, there were still a few spots that you better be careful of where you got off into, but they were those that are drained pretty well up on the ridges. They were draining off pretty well. And still seeing a lot of green Bermuda grasses and Bahia grasses. They just have not slowed down a whole lot. Growth has slowed down, but they're still green and growing a little bit. Looks like we've got some pretty cool air coming in the near future, so hopefully that'll help slow them down a little bit more and continue to help that ryegrass continue to grow. I've seen a lot of volunteer ryegrass coming up already. I know many of you have as well. That planted ryegrass is also moving along pretty well. So actually the field conditions look good. We're starting to dry back up a little bit. But that'll allow those guys to get in there, finish up some of that last minute field work, and get ready for probably what will be a wetter type winter. If the prognosticators are correct, it might be a fairly wet winter.
All right, thank you. And yeah, so for those of you that don't know us, so Jason and I both live in the north part of the state, and I travel down and work in the central region as well. And usually Vince does our updates for central and south conditions. I was traveling this past week. I spent last Tuesday through Thursday driving from the north part of the state in Farmerville down to Alexandria to Baton Rouge, and then kind of looped back up through the east part of the state back up to Farmerville. And when I was traveling from Alexandria down to Baton Rouge, it looked like things were drying out. I have not been down there since Delta hit, so I can't attest to exactly how much. I know that there were still some fields that were flooded that the last few times that I've made that trip were not. But it does look like things are drying out there. I looked on the Ag Center's weather website earlier, and it does not seem like anything's really gotten any rain to speak of since our last update on, I believe on the 12th of the month. So I think the last couple of weeks, it seems like for you guys in the central and south part of the state has been fairly sunny. I hope that you're drying out as much as it looked like. I know I've spoken to a few people that said there's still a few guys out there trying to get some ryegrass planted and get all that done now that everything is kind of draining. So like Jason said, everything up here in the north kind of seems to be mirrored there in central and south Louisiana. So Jason, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, and you can kind of tell us a little bit about what the markets are looking like.
All right. So to put it mildly, the cattle markets over the last week they've certainly struggled. It's unfortunate that our calf and feeder markets are tied so closely and follow so closely to the futures, even though we would hope that those prices would be a function of just their own fundamentals, but that's not the way it goes, unfortunately. So because of what we're seeing in the futures market, it's certainly having a trickle down effect into our calf and feeder markets. But we'll take a look at them in the 5-area feeding region. Fed steer negotiated cash sales closed the week 103 to 105. That's $2 to $3 lower than a week ago. The most recent quotes show December futures were trading up 32 at 103.80. February down 10 at 106.87, and April down 35 at 109.52. So to put that into context, so our last update recording was on October the 12th. We are down about $8 to $9 from where we were on October the 12th. 5 to 600 pound steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold between 124 and 134. And that's about $2 to $8 lower than a week ago. 7 to 800 pound feeder steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold between 116 and 131. That's about $4 lower than the previous week. On that same class of cattle, November futures currently trading down 67 cents at 129.75. January down 45 cents at 125.75, and March down 37 at 125.87. So it's hard to sit there and say down for each one of those because, and like I said at the beginning, that's in today's market, that's a direct indication of what we're seeing on cash sales. So that's tough. So to put that one into perspective, at the time of our last recording, we're down about $6 to $9 on those feeder type steers. And and you can speculate a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on in terms of what the wheat crop looks like in the Midwest. They are certainly evaluating that drought. That drought is not being very friendly to that wheat crop where we need these lighter weight cattle to go to. And it is not doing very well because of the drought. Grain prices are up, which we'll look at in just a few minutes. So there's a lot of factors playing into that, but and they are struggling to say the least. Lean cull cows remain steady from the previous week, so they're still ranging 41 cents to 46 cents. That's steady to about $4 lower than the previous week. The October cattle on feed report was released on October the 23rd. Cattle and calves on feed for the slaughter market in the United States for feedlots with capacity of 1,000 head or more totaled 11.7 million head on October the 1st. That inventory was 4% above October the 1st, 2019. Placements in feedlots during September totaled 2.23 million head, which is about 6% above what we saw in that same time period, 2019. Moving on to our feedstuffs, soybean meal is trading up $17.90 at $387.40 a ton. Soybean hulls are steady at $110 a ton. Corn gluten feed meal is up $10 at $535 a ton. DDGs are up $3 at $155.50 a ton. Rice bran is up $25 at $125 a ton. Cottonseed meal is up $10 at $305 a ton. Whole cottonseed is steady at $220 a ton. And corn is trading 22 cents a bushel higher at $4.19 a bushel. So as I said earlier, all of our grain commodities, all of our feed commodities, feedstuffs are trending upward as well, which is certainly playing its own particular role in that calf market. So that's what our markets look like, Ashley.
All right, thank you. So we know everybody's getting kind of busy this fall, but we want to remind you of a few beef brunch events that we have coming up. So we have our November beef brunch webinar is going to be on Tuesday, November 10th. We will have Dr. Gary Hay presenting on tips for selecting beef bulls for natural service. So we know a lot of you guys are still looking at purchasing bulls this fall. So we wanted to bring him in and talk to y'all a little bit and kind of give you a guideline on some things to look for with that. And then in December, Our topic is going to be beef for the holidays. So we will have Mr. Boo, who is our meat lab manager on the LSU campus. And so he's going to come in and talk to us. Jason and I are going to go down and try to get some pictures and some recordings for y'all. So he's going to go over some different cuts and some different things that you can look at in using beef in all of your holiday recipes, since I know just about all of us will be doing that. So we have those coming up, and we'll remind you on that. If you're new to joining us, we are doing these news updates every other week. We release them every other Monday at 10:30 a.m. We have them in several forms. So we have the YouTube videos, LSU Ag Center -livestock, and you can search for the Beef Brunch news updates there. We are also now in podcast form. So you can find us on Google and Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and a few others. So just search for Beef Brunch Educational Series in your favorite podcast forms. And then you can always visit our website that will have all of our information and upcoming events on that. And that is lsuagcenter.com/beefbrunch. So I'll put all of those links into the video and podcast descriptions for y'all. So with that, Jason, if you don't have anything else, I think we'll keep it short and sweet this go around, and we will be back with y'all in a couple of weeks.